Oh my goodness. What is all this? Yeah, this is... Whew. No, do I really need all these things? What is this doing over here? Seriously? Gotta be kidding me. Okay, what's over here? Let me look in here. Oh, good. What? No, that's not it. No, wait a minute. Here we go. Yeah. All right, got that on my system. Sometimes I just don't know what to do with all these brushes. So many brushes. And such a huge range in quality and price. What's an artist to do? What's an artist to do? Black Tulip Mixed Shape Faux Squirrel Synthetic Brushes. Set of 6. About $30. Handcrafted bamboo handle. Siberian elk. 1 brush. $150. Hello, minders. Welcome back to the Mind of Watercolor. You know, it seems like in every art or craft or hobby or sport or interest of any kind, you have your basic supplies and you have your premium supplies. And on some occasions, you have your super premium luxury supplies, right? We're going to be looking today at 2 extremes. I've both recently been sent these sets of brushes. The first being the Zen Art Supplies Black Tulip Faux Squirrel Synthetic Brushes, set of 6. As I mentioned, at the time of this video, it's roughly $30. They're very nicely made. I mean, very nicely painted handles. They came in pre-sealed pouches. All the pointed brushes have protector sleeves on them inside of that. Reading on their website, these are nickel ferrules. Zen Art is a UK company. The lady that runs the company, or is sort of the headliner artist of the company, I guess, CEO, I'm not sure what her title is, I don't recall, is an artist herself and designed these. They are made in China, but it is an art supply company working out of the UK. Now, I have been approached by a lot of companies, a lot of Me Too export, sell them cheap on Amazon kind of value brushes. But these people really kind of courted me, and it got my attention. They made a video personalized specifically for me, really wanted me to try these, did not put any pressure on me to do a video. I watched some other reviews on these. I haven't seen any what I would call bad reviews. This looked like it might be a good value brand, and I was impressed that the company at least seemed like they're trying to put out a legitimate artistic quality product. So I have yet to try these. We're going to do that today. That said, this fits in what I would call a value category. It is not inconceivable for a brush like this especially, or even like this, to pay $30 for a single brush. So the price is a little dubious, but doesn't necessarily mean anything. It may be a very usable value brand. And I like that it is this set, which is pretty well-rounded. A flat, in landscape, I find a flat indispensable. Of course, you have your basic rounds. You have 2 basic sizes, an 8 and a 10. Those are sizes I usually recommend to get started with. We have a smaller flat, really good choice. And we have a cat's tongue, which is a nice brush for progressing from detail to big washes back to detail, or doing flowing shapes. So it's a good set in terms of choice. But right now I'm defining this as a value set. And nothing wrong with a value set, Brushes are an area, especially in watercolor, that you can usually get by with not spending a whole lot of money, but as we're about to find out, you can. You can spend a whole heck of a lot of money. All right, so I have washed the sizing out of all of these Zen Art brushes, the black tulips, and I'm going to just do some quick brush stroke tests. I will say this right off the bat. This is a stiff brush. I'm not sure why at all they call it faux squirrel. It is not anything like squirrel, and if I were to compare it to what I think is one of the best faux squirrels out there, the Princeton Neptune, which is much softer, much finer, still not as soft and fine as real squirrel, but much closer. This doesn't seem anything like faux squirrel or squirrel, period. It's a coarse fiber, so I'm a little dubious of that. Now, stiff brushes can be useful in watercolor. This might actually be a better gouache brush, but we're about to find out. Just going to get some phthalo blue out here, because it's just a nice, easy to see color. I like to see, you know, how evenly it disperses moisture. Doesn't seem to be a problem there. See, that bothers me right there, that it dumps that kind of a load so easily. So it doesn't hold a lot of water, and I'm guessing that's because of the coarser bristles. Not necessarily a deal breaker. Still, if you were going to be painting fairly dryly, I don't think I would use this for extreme wet washes. Just switching around colors. We're going to do the cat's tongue now. I'm just using an azo green. Paint the color okay. I still don't like too much how it hangs onto the water, or doesn't hang onto the water. It's not what I would call a top performer, but then for $30 for 6, I wouldn't expect it to be. It's just not soft at all, and it's just a very coarse fiber. So again, because of that, it's not going to hold a lot of water. Let me try one of the rounds. The rounds seem to have really good points, so I'm encouraged by that. Now see, I have a lot of use from time to time for a very stiff round. So I think this fills the bill nicely for that. And I like the point. So I don't have a problem, as much of a problem with this. I don't have a problem with any of them per se, but in the bigger brushes, I would probably use something softer, more moppy, like a Princeton Neptune. But if I'm needing a stiff round, I like this okay. I won't bother to try, this is the 10 round, I won't bother to try the 8, it'll be similar. They both have good points. Now if I use a stiffer flat, it will be with the smaller ones, so this may actually prove pretty useful. Yeah, it just dumps a lot of the liquid. Every brush takes a little getting to know, you know, how much water to put in it. You get too much water in it and it just dumps it right out. That's usually the sign of a cheaper brush, but get a little bit less water, a little more pigment, and you're fine. In other words, you just adjust the amount of moisture and you can make it work fine. I don't think I'd even use these for glazing brushes because I like a very soft brush for glazes. Let's get the rigor here, and this will be the final test. But it's got a nice point on it. Usable, workable. All right, so sorry, I think I did those strokes off screen, but yeah, so an initial reaction, as you've been able to tell, pretty nicely constructed brushes, nice aesthetics, fairly nice quality ferrules, it looks like. Time would tell and how they would hold up. As far as performance goes, average, very average. It's a value set. I don't find any huge drawbacks, and I think a beginner could learn with these and paint with these. So we'll just leave it at that. All right, well, let's let the pendulum swing the opposite way, wide the opposite way, shall we? From an acceptable value brand to what I would call a luxury, premium, top shelf, whatever other modifier you can think to put with it. These kind of fit that. These are handmade brushes by Tracy Levinson. Levinson Paint Brushes in Seattle, Washington. Every one is a unique creation. He hand makes all of these, and there are no ferrules. They're put into renewable, highly renewable bamboo. Each one very unique. They all have a lifetime warranty, 30-day return. And this is really my first look. I've only just begun to play with these. In videos to come, you will probably see me using these quite a bit because I want to get to know them. One of the unique factors is that he sells them only at shows, or did sell them only by shows. Within the last year, he's put up a website, so now you buy them on the web. You can't get them in any other stores. And this is right in my review wheelhouse. I just love reviewing products, handmade products that fill a niche somebody, an individual has brought to market. That's something you can't find in the mass market anywhere else. One of the distinctives about these is that he uses up to 12 different natural hair types. They are renewable, cruelty-free, and he repurposes items that he finds in estate sales or uses hair from like shaved animals in a humane environment. And he uses up to 4 different synthetic filaments. With those different hair types, he can combine to make up to 200 different brushes. So really quite a wide variety of what he can do. Now I'm going to play with each one of these, or at least an example of each one of these. Some of these are the same, but just different sizes. And as I do, I'll tell you a little bit about what that brush type is. Now let me iterate here. These are high quality, premium, and I would add on top of that luxury premium. There are really high quality brands of brushes out there. You don't have to pay the kind of money that some of these will cost. These are special brushes. The quality is there. The performance is there. You don't have to spend this kind of money or have this kind of a custom built brush to do really good artwork. A lot of artists probably never do. But I can see this as being something for someone who takes pride in their studio, their artwork, the years of blood, sweat, and tears they've put into. They really know the difference, done enough work to understand it. Again, it's a statement. All right, let's get into looking at the individual brush samples he sent me. All right, first up we have the Wanji Soft Synthetic. Nice little thick handle here. This is normally white. I've already stained it by playing around with some phthalo blue and a couple other colors. So normally it would be a white synthetic when you first get it, kind of like that. You know, one thing as I've been playing with these, and this applies to all of them, except maybe the very thinnest. These, I really think it's true, these thicker ones are very comfortable in the hand. I like something chunky to hold on to like this. There's not very many brushes out there like that. And it's going to vary with the artist, but for me, this reduces hand fatigue. And you can see, there it is loaded up with sort of a purple. I did want to come back and just give you an idea what that point looks like. Very nice point for synthetic. This would probably equate to about a number 6 or number 8 round. Nice water dispensing, very responsive. And I just like how comfortable this is to hold. Let's get this framed up a little closer, just so you can see. So here's what Tracy says about this fiber. Made from the highest grade, ultra fine tapered synthetic fiber. Outstanding brush. Can use with just about any paint or ink type media, watercolor ink, aqueous, heavy body acrylics, oils, and ceramic glazes. Does it all amazingly well. So a good all-purpose brush, I think is what he's saying. And it certainly feels like that. Now this one really intrigued me, and this is what I showed towards the beginning of the video. Expensive brush, yep. This is a rare fiber that he gets, just basically hard to get from what I understand. This Siberian elk. But again, Tracy comes by these through means of estate sales or animals that are in captivity and are shaved. I imagine in an estate sale, he's looking at furs or who knows what, taxidermy. I don't even want to begin to speculate. He can tell what he wants to tell. But this was an interesting fiber. It really, he says it has a lot of snap and spring, and I guess maybe it might. Wet, though, it really, really feels like squirrel. It's a bit on the limp side, but it's an amazing water holder. So again, I'm reminded of squirrel. This is a thick body sort of a brush. That point, I mean, look at that. The ability to go from that razor thin to this, very reminiscent of Kolinsky sable. It's not as stiff as a Kolinsky. An amazing pigment and water holder, though. I was just really, really amazed at how thirsty this brush is. So again, that reminds me very much of squirrel. So this feels a lot like a mop with a very fine point. And Tracy says this is one of his most prized brush hairs. And I have actually spent a lot of time before this playing with it. It's just very intriguing to me, and I want to get to know this brush better, but wow. So Siberian elk. Another one of those handles that's just very satisfying for me, at least, to hold. So here's what he says about them. They're among the most desired brushes anywhere. A joy to use. I can see that. Behave like the best of sable brushes. Yep. They're springy and provide a delightful feedback. I would say maybe not as much as a Kolinsky, since I found this one to be pretty limp. But yeah, Siberian elk's about half the diameter of human hair. Tapers at the tip. That's an important factor. He says that it's best used with the aqueous mediums. I like the size dynamics that you can get with this brush. One of the other things that impressed me about this brush was the organic sort of little edge textures you can get. They're not as possible, I find, with synthetics. This is very true of a good Kolinsky sable, and this matches that in spades. Very useful for a landscape painter, especially. We'll be looking at another one in a minute, which may become my favorite detailer of all time, but hang on for that. All right, let's take a look at another one that I thought was pretty distinctive, and I really like these two. This is a large goat and synthetic blend. He bases a lot of these designs on calligraphy brushes, both with the bamboo and I think the fiber blends. Goat's used a lot in calligraphy brushes. This is stiffer than most goat, so I assume that's owing to the synthetic blend, and I like that. Now this has some real snap to it. Take a look at that point. This is a good sized chunky brush. This is probably the fattest brush handle that he sent me. And again, I think that's owing to the size of this. This is what I would call a 12 round or even a 14 round in some brands. Let's get out this kind of a dirty yellow green here. See, I like the feedback on this one. As nice as that Siberian elk is, this is my preference for stiffness and feedback. And for a larger brush, I would probably tend to use this. Just love it, actually. Very springy. But for a brush that's so thick, check out that. It's rare that a synthetic can do that, especially backed up with all that paint and moisture. Once again, as a landscape painter, you splay these. I just love these little, look at these little organic dancing textures that you can get. They're really kind of hard to get by actually painting them. You got to let the brush do a lot of it. Go from these really fat washes to these little wispy things. Amazing. Amazing, amazing. All right, so here's what Tracy says about the goat synthetic blend. Made from the highest grade, double dressed goat hair. That's double washed, I think I read somewhere else. Brushes also include just the right amount of very high quality grade tapered synthetic fibers. One of his most popular revolutionary brush. Yep, I can kind of tell that. A unique brush. Offers the ability to produce a hair fine line. I think I demonstrated that. Excellent feedback. Yeah, I really, really love the feedback. Even when working on the tip. Because it's much stiffer than that elk. All right, fantastic. Here's another synthetic, which I won't test. This is a white synthetic like the other ones I tested. He calls this a stiff white synthetic. You know, again, just a little more stiffness. This is a small one. Nice point. Going to have a similar performance to the other ones. Two more synthetics, which I'll just show. I'm not going to get into trying them. There's this orange synthetic, and this is like a rigger or liner. Did a little testing on this. Very nice quality synthetic. Cool handle. He says that the orange synthetics are a stiffer synthetic, so there's that. This is another synthetic that he provides. This is a brown synthetic, but he says this is stiffer than goat. Another look at one of his handles. I'm not spending a lot of time showing the prices. He's got them marked on these things. Really, that's going to change. And in the future, if you're seeing this video, I really encourage you to go to his website and get a better idea of what the current prices are. Let me get this wet so you can take a look at the tip. That's his brown synthetic. All right, now I want to take a little more time with these last two. All right, I want to look at these two detailers, and this right here was just amazing to me. I have to keep my hand there, keep it focused. Take a look at that point. This is a Siberian elk brush. He calls it his itty bitty Siberian elk brush. The elk, which I found in that thicker brush to be a lot limper than the goat, I think really shines in a thin brush like this. I mean, you can paint so thin, you can almost make that line disappear. Even crow quill ink nibs would have a hard time making a line that thin. I don't use spotters. I tend to use fine detailers more like this because spotters don't hold any water. So unless you're using a viscous paint, you know, fine little spotters, but something like this, and then you get the whole brush employed. Wow. So I've already read you what the Siberian elk is, and here it's just employed in a different brush. Very cool. I look forward to using that one. And last but not least, from what he sent me, now keep in mind, as I say last but not least, he's got like hundreds of variations he can make on these brushes. This is one of his rarest hairs. This is Silver Fox. But check that out. That's a detailer with a razor thin point, a little bit longer, so it's going to act a little more like a rigger. I'm just getting a muddy mix of all sorts of colors. Once again, a razor thin line. The Silver Fox is a little bit more responsive. Again, probably because as it seems to me, the elk is limper. This is just like, whoa. I mean, I can get whispers of lines you probably can't even see on video. But then this. If you've watched my videos for long, you know I like riggers for doing ground detail like this, a little dry brush, and having a responsive tip, you know, just makes for some nice little ground clutter grunge, you might say, like that. That's great. Paint grasses for days. So both of those I was really impressed with. Here's what Tracy says about the Silver Fox. Made from the guard hair of select silver foxes and very rare. Extremely fine hair, about 1/4 the diameter of human hair. A lot of work's needed to make each brush. It's as fine as Russian sable. Yeah, I believe that. Very enjoyable springiness and phenomenal media control. Verified. It's his most prized, or one of the most prized types of brushes available anywhere. All right, so there is a look at Levinson brushes. Do you need to buy a brush like this to be a great painter? Absolutely not. Would it be fun, rewarding, enjoyable, make a statement about your art, your studio, be something cool to have, support a individual artisan who hand makes things from renewable resources? Would that be something you could do? Why, of course. Hope you enjoyed this sort of look at the extremes of brushes, and they fall in just about every step in between. So many brushes. Well, I hope I've helped you sort through at least a few of the ideas for those brushes. Thank you so much, patron, for supporting this channel and making this content possible. We'll see everybody in the next video. Bye-bye.